It's Kevin Keatsman Uncanceled on 95.7 FM, KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, Kansas City. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM and 710 AM. I know many of you still listen on 710 AM. Big AM signal throughout the Midwest. However you listen, on the app, on, just the live streaming, going to the website, the browser. Any way you listen, we're glad you're here. On this Tuesday, a little bit of a gloomy day in Kansas City, but we have a lot of good news again today because it just keeps coming one day after another. To start the show in just a moment, we'll talk about how Trump is back in the USA, and that will be his focus, which is great. I've never seen anybody focused more on exactly where they are at any given moment than Donald Trump. It is absolutely amazing. Also today on the show, the growing list of improbable people on the left that are giving credit to Donald Trump. And this bothers me a little bit because I'm worried they might be on to something, that it could then bring them back toward the middle and get some of their voters back. We like them out there in Wackyville, for sure. At 10:30, we're going to dive into this thing that's going on. I don't know how many people know about this incident that happened at the KU football game Saturday night. There was a verbal confrontation after the game by KU coach Lance Leipold to Joey McGuire, the coach at Texas Tech, over a tradition at Texas Tech where the students throw tortillas whenever they're happy, and apparently they're happy the whole game. So there's new rules in place that make this against the rules, and Texas Tech was actually penalized twice in that game. But after the game, Lance Leipold said something really dangerous was thrown at one of his staff members and hit, and now there's a full-on investigation to find out if this actually happened or didn't. This is going to get really interesting. We'll get into the details of that coming up in about 30 minutes. And then later, we're just going to ask the question. Would you allow Alec Baldwin to drive your children to school? Alec Baldwin was in a car crash with his brother, Stephen. They hit a tree in the Hamptons. Just went off the road and hit a tree. Okay, we'll get into that when we start today with Back in the USA, our headline. That is Donald John Trump. And tomorrow is payday in the United States for everyone that works for our federal government. They're expecting to be paid. It will be the first day that any of these workers that we've heard so much about the last 2 weeks will feel any pain. Donald Trump is promising to pay our troops. He is promising to fund the Food for Women and Kids programs. And he is promising to cut thousands of jobs in liberal agencies that he doesn't like. Because he can. Because the Democrats have shut the government down. And this is not up for discussion. He is also expected some point this week to sign an executive order making daylight savings permanent. I guess you can do that through executive order, but then he's going to implore Congress to make it law and will no longer have any time changes ever in the United States. And basically where your watch or your clock is right now is where it will stay, no matter where you live. That will be the executive order. We're going to stay on daylight savings, which means typically throughout the year, we're going to have an hour more of daylight than the alternative of running the clocks back an hour. So it's another busy week for Donald Trump. I don't believe, I'll be honest with you, I've read all these things that he doesn't sleep on Air Force One. I think sleeping and napping are two different things. I asked my mom if she was taking a nap. She goes, no, I was just resting my eyes. Okay, we've all got a different definition of what we do when we're tired. I think of sleeping as going to bed at night and getting 6 or more hours. That's sleeping. But as my schedule has gotten stranger the last year of my life, and I get up earlier and earlier, and then try not to get up so early on the weekends, I get into these weird patterns where I don't know why this has happened, but it happened to me last night. I'm a little tired today. I went to sleep early. I didn't watch the end of the second football game. And then I woke up about midnight a little bit restless and had all this stuff going on in my mind, and I actually felt rested. Like, okay, I just got a couple hours. I'm good. And it was really weird. I thought, how am I going to go back to sleep? So everybody's different. I'm guessing Trump's that guy. I don't think Trump goes down and sleeps for 8 hours. I don't think that ever happens. I'm guessing that man can sleep for a couple hours or nap on Air Force One for a couple hours and be pretty much rejuvenated to at least get through the next day until he can get 5 or 6 hours. People are built differently this way. But it is still a remarkable and amazing, that trip that he just made. Using Air Force One as his flying Mar-a-Lago, basically, is what he does. Going to Israel and then Egypt and taking the world by storm and making all the headlines. And then on the way back, what does he do? How does he stay in touch with everybody? And how good is his staff this time compared to last time? Because the second they come back, they're going to do this Charlie Kirk remembrance. They're going to do the Medal of Freedom. They're going to do we're going to pay these government entities. We're going to cut these jobs. We're going to do daylight savings. Like, it is just a breakneck pace. But everything he does, once he gets in the air and he starts flying back to D.C., is turn his attention to things internal in the United States. And ultimately, these are the things that drive the Democrats crazy, is the internal domestic policies. The Democrats don't like it. They don't seem to mind the government is shut down because they're going on a luxury vacation, many of them, a retreat to Napa Valley to a winery this week, where they will wine and dine very expensively and apparently watch Trump cut out some Democrat programs that they love. It's going to look really weird for them to complain about that from a winery. I'm just saying. And yet they're doing it. Apparently, there are multiple reports out there that they're fuming at Chuck Schumer beneath the surface because Trump, again, is winning. The government is shut down, but the military is going to get paid. Kristi Noem has announced today the Coast Guard is going to get paid. She has said in the past, and they've made fun of things like Saturday Night Live for doing sketches about Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi, they're thanking Saturday Night Live and asking them to keep it up because it's recruitment ads for ICE. And the Coast Guard and the Border Patrol, keep it up. Thank you. Keep doing this. We want all we can get. Meanwhile, the Democrats who control our nation's airports and CNN, which somehow seems to have a stranglehold on the TVs in every airport in America, will not run the Homeland Security videos of Kristi Noem talking about deportation. I don't understand this. It seems to me the federal government, through the FAA, could enforce that and make that run in airports. But it's really weird. There are things that they don't want you to see, and then they go out and try to make comedy out of it. And we basically say, thank you, we'll take all the SNL sketches we want, because nobody in America, other than somebody who will never be persuaded and doesn't even love America to begin with, is going to hate what's going on in the Trump administration. Almost everything he's doing is popular. And it's going to be more popular when he gets to crow tomorrow that it's payday and our troops got paid and the Coast Guard got paid and the program for women and children to eat got funded, and we've cut a bunch of wasteful jobs that nobody wants or needs. He's going to win again. I can't think of one good reasons why the Democrat are allowing this government to be shut down. I don't even get it. There's nothing in it for them. There is no, Mike Johnson's right. There's no negotiating this topic. There's a clean resolution sitting there. It's perfectly clean. We'll keep the government open through November or whatever it was, exactly as it is. Nothing changes, which is the bill you signed on for, the laws you enacted. We're going to keep doing this the way the Democrats agreed for, I think it was a 7-week extension or something like that. We'll keep that going, and the Democrats say, no, we're not going to keep going what we agreed to before. How do you win that? What's your leverage? What's the end game? And have they not learned that Trump is going to win? He's always got a Trump card. He does. It never occurred to me that he could shift tariff money and pay these things. Oh, suddenly we have new money coming into the Treasury that's not appropriated. It's not. It's just going to the Treasury. I'm guessing when the government shut down, the presidential powers allow him to use that to fund whatever he wants. And if he wants to fund the military and aid for women and children and cut jobs, he's going to do it. And they're going to lose again. I love it. Now, all that said, it was a remarkable 36 hours or so in the Middle East. We have already seen signs that Hamas, what was not spoken about is you're basically negotiating with terrorists. That's what this was. It's very complicated. I don't really care that much. I don't have a solution for these people. I know there's a lot of... Hamas just hates people. They're jihadists. They're killers. They're murderers. They're terrorists. That's it. That's what Hamas is. And now that Israel's out of Gaza, Hamas wants to seize control, basically, once again. And we've seen videos already of public executions of what many people are describing as Palestinians, not Jews, Palestinians killing their own, who were dissenters, who were trying to form family or clan militias to take on Hamas and say, we want a better way going forward as Palestinian people than a terrorist group like Hamas running us. Well, if you're a dissenter, they go to a public square on a street in front of cheering crowds and they put a gun to your head. And they did this to 8 men right after this deal was done, right after Israel pulled out. Now, the people that have been left behind in Gaza that were sympathetic, not necessarily to Jews, but sympathetic to the cause of getting Hamas out of there and making a better state, maybe someday a Palestine or a better way of life, they're going to be killing those people right and left. So the violence has not left the Middle East. A great thing was done. It's a great start, but we cannot in any way trust these people. There are people chanting in the streets while mass executions are taking place. That's happening. It's just not Hamas versus the Jews. It's not a giant regional conflict. Think of this as, I don't know, we've got a great tradition in this country of making gangster movies, mob movies. That's what this is. Hamas is gangsters. There are other smaller clans, mobs, whatever you want to call them, in Gaza trying to be upstart and take on Hamas and get them out, and they could rule the place. There's no democracy. There's no fairness. There's no freedom for these people. It's been totally destroyed. It's a mess. So this fight is far from over. But I, for one, am glad that Donald Trump is back and they're focused on America right now. The rest of this week, I'm all in for that. On Friday, Zelensky will be at the White House, and Trump will probably move his aim toward Russia and Ukraine and trying to solve that thing. These are amazing times. 913-408-7957, the phone number to call, 913-408-7957, if you'd like to join the conversation. Up next, we'll give you a laundry list of Democrats that are supporting Trump. And, oh boy, I got more stadium finance information, not Kansas City. This is in Chicago and Cleveland, the finances of their deals. And I'll compare the Bears and the Browns to the Chiefs next on KCMO Talk Radio. Man, it is crazy to see what other NFL teams are doing and how long it's taking the Chiefs to decide what they're going to do. There is just movement everywhere. I know Pete had a guest on earlier today talking about what Denver is doing with their new stadium, that it's going to be privately funded. Those are the Walmart folks, and they've decided they can just take $5 billion of their own dollars and spend it, and it will still be super profitable over the next 20 years, as opposed to staying in their current stadium and renovating it. This is happening everywhere except Jacksonville, which is on a 4th renovation and an ownership group that kind of wants to move the team from where they are. So a little different situation. But the Bears have announced they're leaving historic Soldier Field. It is, I mean, it's far more historic than Arrowhead Stadium. I don't think there's any question about that. I mean, they're moving out into the burbs. They want to build, well, they're not want to, they're building. They're doing this. A $5 billion new stadium and complex. They're asking for $855 million in public financing, which sounds like a lot of money, but that's only 17%. That's 17%. Again, the Chiefs are offered 70% public financing to move to Kansas. These numbers the Chiefs are being offered. Let me say this about you legislators in Kansas. Y'all look pathetic and sad and weak, like completely weak Todd action, weak sauce. I'm embarrassed that you extended your deadline, that you're allowing them to drag you through like this, and nobody had the balls in the state of Kansas to look at Clark Hunt and Mark Donovan and say, nobody's ever gotten this offer. You have until June 30th. You know what? Or get off the pot. What are you doing in Kansas? You allowed Missouri to come through with a 50% pledge from the state if they get a municipality on board to help the Chiefs out, although there is no location really for a new stadium that we know of for the Chiefs unless they want to build where the Royals' current stadium is, but that's way down the road. You might be looking at 10 years before you move into that new stadium if you do that, and you certainly wouldn't renovate Arrowhead in the meantime. You'd lose a lot of money over the next 10 years. Clark Hunt would be in his 70s then. I don't know, man. It becomes very, very complicated. But this is embarrassing for Kansas. I'll just say it. You guys, if you want to do this, you need to put a deadline on them. And does anybody in Kansas have any stones to say the Bears are taking it? They're asking for 17%, and we're offering you 70%. What are you doing, Kansas? How many times you got to ask the girl to the prom? and you just keep getting kicked in the crotch and spit in the face? It's ridiculous. The Cleveland Browns. This is my favorite yet. The Cleveland Browns are building a new ballpark in something called Brook Park. It looks like some sort of a suburb. I'm not familiar with the Cleveland area enough to know, other than, Cleveland Heights, New Heights, right? Brook Park is the location of their new stadium. They've been in their stadium for 25 years. This is year number 26. They renovated it completely in 2014, and they're moving out and moving into a new stadium that's going to be a multi-billion-dollar deal. And get this, in order to be able to go do that, the Browns, seriously, I'm only contrasting the offers. These two teams in Kansas City that have dragged us through this for so long, this is just embarrassing. For both these teams, I'm embarrassed for both of you that you've done this to all of us. Shame on you. Shame on you. The Cleveland Browns are writing a check to the city of Cleveland for $100 million for the right to leave. That's it.
And the Browns have been absolutely awful.
Awful. The Browns get nothing. They just want out. It's like Tiger Woods' divorce, for God's sake. Here's $100 million. I'm moving out here to Brook Park, and I'm starting over all new. You caught me. It's over. I'm moving on. Are you kidding me, Clark Hunt? Mark Donovan? What are you guys doing? What's this game you're playing? You think you're going to get more out of Kansas? You're sitting here nitpicking over what? Some sort of county assessment or a local tax fee or something like that? Or, we can't figure out what our Star Bond Development District and area is going to be. We're going to quabble over whatever. You know what? What's the worst that could happen? They wind up funding 63% of it instead of 70%. You people are embarrassments to this community. What you're doing to Kansas City is not being done in other markets. And you politicians that are allowing it are also, you're all embarrassments. All embarrassments at this point. We don't know anything about where you're going, what you're doing. We just know that every politician in our area is like, oh, here's a wheelbarrow full of money. Take it all. We want you. We want you. Here it is. Here it is. Here it is. And the owner's like, well, I don't know. If this deal is the one we want, we're going to have to take a little more time and study this because, 70% is only 70%. Nobody in Major League Baseball or the NFL has ever had 70% of their stadium paid for by a state. That has never happened. I am tired of this process. I'm tired of all the stupid, spineless politicians, and I'm tired of these owners and the managers of these teams, these presidents of these teams, just steamrolling all the idiots that we've elected around here. Both parties. You're all just as lame as you can possibly be. Scared to death that it's going to wind up in the other state. And these teams are just playing you like a fiddle. Has any politician anywhere around here ever looked at another deal that any other team got in another city? Or do you just keep saying, more? We're going to put a county tax, like Clay County. Let's put it on the ballot. Let's do a 0.5-cent sales tax for the Royals. Come on, let's give them more. What in the world is happening here? I mean, maybe we give too much credit to guys like Trump for being deal makers because the Chiefs and Royals are run very well, but this is too easy. I could negotiate all this stuff for them. It's just nothing but caving in. Here's a list of people who have credited Donald Trump for the work that he has done in bringing peace to the Middle East. Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel, Bill Clinton, Hillary Clinton, Chuck Schumer, and Kamala Harris. This is getting interesting. Now, it's pretty thin support for Trump, but they knew it would look really bad if they left him out. So I think in the case of Bill Clinton, there's a presidential code. Like, I don't know where George W. Bush is on all this and whether he's making any kind of the fact that he's not commenting speaks volumes to the hatred that the Bush family has toward the Trumps for what he did to Jed during the first election, during the first primary. But we're seeing some of them start to say some things that are a little bit sane, and that's troublesome to me because they're much easier to defeat when they're insane. But they still have a whole lot of crazy people out there, like the entire squad. None of those people are saying anything nice at all about Trump. They really don't know what to do. They've been screaming about ending genocide and it's got to come to an end and we got to have peace as if they knew it were not achievable. Therefore, they'd never have to credit anyone else. They just run around and say stuff. Like Liz Warren immediately, she can't name Trump either. She's got derangement syndrome. She immediately puts a post out and says, I've been calling for 2 years for this peace in the Middle East. Now we must rush aid in there and do this and do that. And it made it sound like she did it. Because, she's been calling for 2 years for peace since October 7th to do all this stuff. And J.D. Vance just went right back at her and quoted her piece and said, the president told me he did this on Indigenous Peoples Day in honor of you, Liz Warren, also known as Pocahontas. So there are those that will not give any credit to Trump, and they're trying to take credit themselves. That would include Joe Biden, who put a post out, or his people did, and Antony Blinken, his former Secretary of State. They're both trying to say that this would never have happened if they hadn't done all their hard work over the course of a year and a half. But I don't know anybody that's buying that. And it seems pretty funny that everybody's out there either trying to quiet the thing down because they don't want Trump to get credit, thinly veiling it and saying, well, Trump did a nice job here, or saying, wait a second, I did this, not him. I love the I did this, not him category. Seriously, like Liz Warren basically thinks she did it. Joe Biden thinks he did it. I like those people the best. I think they're my favorite. Mark, I'm sure you're aware of this story of what happened at the Kansas football game Saturday night, correct?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
With the tortillas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's reset this. About 25, 30 years ago, an ESPN announcer made a comment at a Texas Tech football game on national TV that said, boy, they sure love their football team here, and that's a good thing because there isn't much in Lubbock other than the Red Raiders and a bunch of tortilla factories. And so the students immediately pounced on this and said, let's take tortillas to the game and start tossing them around like college kids will. And for a while, they just tossed them around the stands, and it was kind of fun. Then they realized on a good night, if the wind was blowing just right, they could spin them like a Frisbee and get them all the way down to the opposing team's bench and shower the team with tortillas. And they did this forever, and every team that ever went there had to deal with it, and you didn't like it. You were told by your coach, don't acknowledge the fans, ignore the tortilla when it falls to the ground. Don't give them the satisfaction of turning and doing anything. It was part of going in. It was also an advantage for Texas Tech for many, many years because you had a team coming in that knew something weird was going to happen, and you had to ask your players to please ignore it, which is not a very human thing to do. Somebody chucks a tortilla at you, you would like to respond in some way. Well, the Big 12 finally took action on this, and they passed rules about tossing anything anywhere. There's 16 teams in the league. Last year when they voted, the vote was 15-1 to stop this. The lone vote against the proposal was the Texas Tech athletic director. He's like, no, we're going to keep chucking tortillas. It's what we do.
He should have withheld his vote.
Should have withheld the vote. You're right. I don't think he cared. He knew it was going down. He was going to, do something cool for his fan base. Well, they keep doing it. The new rule says, this is what's crazy. They allow you twice to throw these things at the other team before there's any penalty. They warn you, you must stop or your team will get a 15-yard penalty. So Texas Tech was penalized twice on Saturday night against KU, which means that was times number 3 and 4. After the game, Lance Leipold, who's the head coach at Kansas, went off on Joey McGuire at midfield on the handshake. There were bad words exchanged. Joey McGuire wound up going like, what am I supposed to do? I'm over here on the other side coaching. You want me to, they're at it. Leipold walks away. Now, KU got spanked in this game, and it did reek just a little bit of this Brian Branch tantrum the other night, just a little bit. Oh, and the Chiefs spanked the Lions. It happens in sports. It's human. It's not a bad thing. It's just part of the deal. Leipold then goes into the post-game news conference, is asked about it, goes, oh, no, it's not just tortillas. Somebody threw a pocket knife and hit one of the members of our staff. Okay, now there's a full-on investigation. The Big 12 is involved. They've charged Texas Tech with doing this. The Big 12 is getting security cameras, all kinds of different videos and all this stuff. Here's what I know about all things with fan incidents, okay? This is not up for debate. This is a fact. This is not an opinion. At least 50 people know whether or not a knife was thrown. That's it. If somebody chucked a pocket knife, he not only did it he clearly would have said to somebody, watch this. Or as he threw it, he goes, look, I just threw my pocket knife, or bragged to everyone that he did it. That happened. It's more than likely on an iPhone somewhere. More than likely. Kansas didn't produce a pocket knife after the game, but it really isn't on them to pick this thing up off the ground. You're told not to, do anything. But I think if I were the staffer that got hit by the pocket knife, I would pick it up. I would put it in my pocket, and I would make sure during a timeout or something that the authorities knew this just got chucked at me. And could you go back and look at this section where it came from and see if you can find out who did it, because this is wrong. I don't know. All of these things are 50-50. The ones that are not 50-50 is the racial slurs. Those are easily disproven. They almost never happen. An athlete will say, oh, they were hollering this woman in the WNBA. What's her name? I forget, with the Liberty. Is it Liberty she plays for? Caitlin Clark's nemesis.
Oh,
Angel Reese. Angel Reese. When
Chicago
she said it.
Sky.
Right. Yeah. A Chicago Sky. Okay. When she said it, I'm immediately like, no, didn't happen. And her coach is like, well, we didn't hear it. Nope, didn't happen. So this isn't racial slurs. This is actually something being thrown. All right? So I think these incidents are about 50-50. Sometimes somebody makes it up and says, well, they weren't just chucking something else came. There was an uproar over Rory McIlroy's wife getting a beer tossed at her at the Ryder Cup a few weeks ago. It was bad. It was stupid. It was wrong. It was also lame. It was like an empty cup of beer with like an inch of beer in it or something, and it just wasn't much. So I'm not saying that. I'm not placing a level of severity on this. A pocket knife being thrown out of the stands, let me be perfectly clear. That should be an arrestable crime. That should not just be you're banned from the stadium and you can't come in here anymore. There is some sort of, at the very least, misdemeanor charge for assaulting somebody with some sort of a weapon. Because there's no other way to describe it. If you throw a knife at somebody and it hits them, you've assaulted them with an actual weapon. Now, nobody's saying the knife was open. If it was a pocket knife, it was probably closed. It's going to fly better closed anyway. It's going to be a lot easier to throw and a lot safer to throw. Who would throw their pocket knife? Most of these pocket knives that people have now are $100 or more. You can get very inexpensive pocket knives, I know, but people who carry pocket knives, especially in Lubbock, Texas, are really proud of their pocket knife, let me tell you. They love their pocket knife. So this one's 50-50. I can't wait to see what happened. Of course, there's also the possibility that Tech won't be honest in their investigation. I would hope that they would be. I would think they would want to root out a fan. And, there's a line drawn here. Tortillas may be okay. Pocket knives, no bueno. Not here in Lubbock. We're not doing that. I would hope that the authorities at that school would take that very seriously. And I would hope that the Big 12 is watching this investigation properly, because that has to stop. I'm with Lance Leipold on that 100%. If indeed that happened, it's got to end. You can't have that. I used to stand it didn't matter whether I was in Oakland or the LA Coliseum, because the Raiders moved back and forth from Oakland and LA. I didn't know year to year where they were playing, but I'd go to the road games when I worked at Channel 4. And at the end of the game, we'd go down there and shoot our stand-ups. These people threw batteries. And I couldn't figure out for the longest time why they throw batteries at like visiting reporters and stuff and the opposing team, because we were always on the Chiefs bench side. And I realized, well, I'm going down there with under 5 minutes to play. Their batteries are dead. They're listening to the game. They bring spare batteries, put new ones in their radio when it croaks. So I always thought, why would you throw perfectly good? No, those were dead batteries being chucked at reporters. But boy, it happened all the time. And in those days, they didn't do anything about it. They never said anything about it. I don't think there was much they could do about it. Nobody got caught on an iPhone. But now bad fan behavior is caught pretty much everywhere. And I'm waiting to see how this happened and if it happened. Way back in the day, Mark, you're probably too young for this. There was an incident at Bramlage Coliseum when Roy Williams was the coach, and Kansas won about 700 games in a row against K-State, and the building had been open forever, and K-State had never beaten KU in the building. Never. And as they were leaving, it was very controversial at the end. I don't remember. There were a lot of controversial endings. The fans were mad. Okay, this is sort of K-State KU lore. None of this is provable at this point, and there weren't any iPhones. Roy Williams was livid after the game that Rex Walters got hit with a coin on the way out, walking into the tunnel. And Roy Williams had this accent, this dialect. He's like, Rex got hit with a coin. It was kind of a Forrest Gump moment. Like, yeah. Okay, you just won. Get on the bus, go home, Roy. You always win here. He's like, but Rex got hit with a coin, and dadgummit, I didn't have enough money when I was a kid to drink a Coke. And, he was that guy. He was the aw shucks guy. Rex got hit with a coin, and people made T-shirts. Rex got hit with a coin. Nobody really knows for sure whether it happened, but the absolute belief among all the people, all the students, all the people that were at Bramlage that day, word got around, was that it was current Oklahoma head football coach Brent Venables that did it. I am not kidding.
That's awesome.
If Rex got hit with a coin at Bramlage, it was Brent Venables.
And because he was a player at K-State.
I think he was a coach then.
Or he was a coach.
I think he was an assistant coach at that point. He might have still been a player, but I think he might have been on the staff. Okay. He definitely was a player and coach. So I don't know if at the time he was a player or a coach.
Yeah.
But it was a heck of a story. And Brent Venables had a long road to becoming a head coach. He had, I shouldn't say anything more about Brent Venables. There were just always questions whether or not he was head coach material.
I just imagine in the interview room, hey, did you throw a coin at Roy Williams back in the day?
Did you know that the two finalists for the Missouri job when Gary Pinkel was hired as head coach was Gary Pinkel and Brent Venables?
Really?
Do you know how long ago that was?
Yeah, that was in the, 90s?
I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You look at Brent Venables, you don't think he's that old. But no, Rex got hit with a coin. Most people believe to this day it was Brent Venables that did it.
Wow.
You can't throw stuff out of the stands like that. We'll see how this one winds up. Uncanceled continues. We come back. We're going to check in with Mark. Uh-oh. What was this news that came out about KU basketball yesterday? Oh, no. Say it ain't so. Next on KCMO. The burning question of the day here at Uncanceled is, would you let Alec Baldwin drive your kids to school? And we asked this because Alec Baldwin was involved in an accident yesterday in the Hamptons. He's driving his brother, Stephen, is Stephen the one that's conservative? One of the Baldwin brothers is kind of a Trumper.
I believe so.
So, Stephen, that's an interesting car ride. Those two guys together then, right? So, Alec Baldwin's driving his wife's Range Rover, and they're in the Hamptons. And an accident happens. It's a single car accident because Baldwin goes off the road and hits a tree. Nobody's hurt. They're fine. Stephen Baldwin's publicist immediately puts out, hey, everybody's okay here. It's going to be all right. And then Alec Baldwin posts, a garbage truck the size of a whale cut me off and forced me into a tree. Okay, that's the story. Not so fast, my friend. The dash cam video shows an entirely different story. It shows that the garbage truck made a perfectly legal right turn pulling out and apparently was in some sort of a proper lane when Alec Baldwin goes to the right of the truck, which essentially is the shoulder, and then loses control of the car on the shoulder and hits the tree. He was in such a hurry. What? He was trying to pass on the shoulder or pass on the right side or something like that? Would you? Well, let's forget the kids because that answer's no. My kids are not riding with Alec Baldwin. Mark Van Sickle, would you ride with Alec Baldwin?
No. No way. Why would I do that? Maybe I need to give him a ride. Will he drink it?
No, I think they're good there. But the first thing I thought of was he's definitely, he's a distracted human being. So he has to be a distracted driver. Like, he can't be a good driver, can he? He's picking fights on street corners with people and...
Yeah, avoid that guy at all costs.
Can you imagine you're riding with Alec Baldwin and his wife's name's Hilaria, right? Just one letter short of hilarious?
I believe so.
Hilaria. So can you imagine if you're riding with Alec Baldwin and Hilaria calls him and just lets into him like she's been known to do, and all of a sudden, as the call's getting heated, it's 60 miles an hour, 70, 80, 85, 90. Uh-oh, it's over 100. He hangs up. He's really mad at her. He starts pounding the dashboard. 117 miles an hour. No thanks.
I'm out.
I am out with Alec Baldwin. Not happening. The Associated Press basketball poll was put out yesterday. The Kansas Jayhawks ranked number 19 in the preseason poll. It's their lowest preseason ranking in 17 years. Are you shocked by this?
No, I'm not shocked. They only have, I think, 2 guys back from their squad last year. They had a lot of guys transfer, a lot of guys graduate. So a lot of freshmen, a lot of transfers. So it's kind of up in the air for KU basketball.
That would be 6th in the Big 12. There's 5 other Big 12 teams ahead of them in the poll. Can I make a case for this being complete and absolute malarkey, Joe Biden?
Really?
Darren Peterson.
He is going to be good.
By every account, will be the first player taken in the NBA draft next June.
Yeah.
And he plays for Kansas this year. You're telling me Bill Self has the top draft pick in the NBA draft next year, and you think there's 18 teams better than that, and 5 in the Big 12 better than that?
See, this is going to be interesting because they're going to be playing like an underdog now. It's been a while since we've seen that.
No chance. Not when they start like 9-1.
Yeah.
I haven't watched much of Darren Peterson. I've seen a couple of highlight films. I'm sure you've seen some, right?
Yeah, he's really good.
How are you the sixth place team with that guy?
It's a good question.
I mean, this is like Kevin Durant at Texas or Michael Beasley at K-State when they came in. You got like the top guy in the draft coming in. Those teams were really good,
they
right?
usually go, pretty far in the tournament.
Cooper Flagg last year?
Yep.
Same thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Duke was a 1 seed?
Yep.
I don't know how you take the top player in the NBA draft and finish sixth in the Big 12. I'd like to try my chance at not doing that.
And Jacque Vaughn is an assistant coach.
Right.
I like that.
I'm not buying any of this. I am not buying any of this. Stan Weber, a few months ago, filled in for me as the guest host here. And he is a tremendous football analyst, just tremendous. He's on my podcast basically every week, Mark. We talk football. And I love when Stan says things because he's just so right all the time. He promised me 3 weeks ago that the Bills are not that good because their defense is horrible and all they have is a quarterback and a running back. They lost again last night. The Indianapolis Colts at 5-1 right now are the 1 seed in the AFC.
Yeah.
Boy, did the Chiefs pick a good year to have a slow start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the Colts have had a pretty easy schedule. The Bills, their wins aren't very good against the Saints and the Dolphins, stuff like that. So
I mean, the Bills look insanely beatable, don't they? Their defense looks terrible.
Yeah.
The Falcons tried to give that game away so many times last night and just couldn't. The Bills wouldn't take it.
Yeah. Their offense couldn't do anything.
Tip of my cap to Stan Weber. I'm trying to twist his arm. I'm going to be gone a week from Monday, the day the Chiefs play the Commanders on Monday Night Football. I'm trying to twist his arm into coming in here and hosting the show that day. We'll see if we can make that one happen. Thanks for listening to Uncanceled. The Vince Show's coming up next. This is KCMO Talk Radio.